So let's talk about TSM because that's what everybody's here for. Honestly, we were talking a little bit about
That's ridiculous. Summoning insight segue of all time. Like, dude, no one had even mentioned anything about TSM, but he just goes, let's get straight to TSM then, right? Okay, I think we should. They've just been eliminated from Worlds. Let's just fucking do it, shall we? It's a summoning insight tradition.
So guys, you have to understand how great this, as a TSM hater, how great this week was for me, because I was hosting the Rainbow Six Major, right? And so TSM is competing there. And basically it's the same format as Worlds, where you have like the double round robin in a 4-team group. And they almost go 0-6 in that group. So like the memes were like fucking writing themselves. I was just laughing my ass off as they go 1-5, barely win one game in order to pull it out. So you almost, esports is a flat circle. You almost had to come all the way back around. And then by the end of the week, I just got to watch Cloud9 beat TSM again in a different game. So I just got to watch them eliminated twice, 2 different games, same week. It was wonderful.
Maybe I'll be a good balance to this conversation. I know you guys love TSM. I know everybody wants to hear Thorin versus TSM. I kind of like TSM, the players, at least.
Oh, I love the players on TSM. It's never been about the players.
Yeah. But still, they're in the crossing fire. It happens.
I mean, they chose this life in Arrow.
That's true. The money's worth.
That is just like, selling your soul to the devil. They going like, oh, it's a bit painful being in hell. It's like, what did you think the deal entailed? That's how it ends. That's like, you can't join TSM really in Arrow and go, I really didn't like the way my World Sea experience ended at the end. Like, what team were you joining, you idiot? I mean, been paying attention to the LCS. Like, you're aware it was 2014 when they made it out, and it took Sven Skaren just essentially like potentially ruin his entire reputation to get TSM out. So that can't happen every year. The problem is though, Monte, it also couldn't have been more perfect, could it? Because everyone who knows, I'm even going to actually help them out for a second, because it won't help them out. They're too stupid. TSM fans make the rod for their own back, because every time there's a TSM lineup like this, that's like, it's like in the relative context of NA, it's like a pretty good lineup, but it's clearly not the best lineup. And it probably, you could tell, like, they weren't going to win LCS. They maybe could have made Worlds, certainly. There's a world where they could have been like second or third seed or something, maybe. But like, realistically, they were never going to win LCS. But the problem is, TSM fans always, the second they get the sliver of hope, so obviously this time, it was when at the very end of the split they made it to number 1 in the standings. They get that like hope, and then they trash talk so much from that position that then when they actually do fail, it's like they did it all to themselves, because this one was mental, mate. Because think about the way that TSM fans are trash talk. This year wasn't about like we're the best, because it was hard to make that angle because of the fact that like TL and Team Liquid are fucking their own, C9 and Team Liquid are kind of fucking their own lineups up, You can't really go on the angle like we're the best. So they went with the angle instead in Aero of like, Perks is the shittest though. He is such a waste of money. Cloud9's going to blow it again to sign him. And I think I had the best tweet of all, because I waited, Monty. I tweeted it the second they were eliminated. It said, I'm worried about how much Perks cost Cloud9. He just cost TSM everything. Listen, mate. Listen, Picasso painted, Barishnikov danced. I play Twitter. That's my art form. You have to understand. Yeah, TSM fans on Twitter. That's my orchestra.
Truly the maestro.
It's not highbrow. I won't lie about it. It's pretty shit, but whatever. It still works. The numbers still work the same way. At this point, I am like fucking Mick Jagger, like no, just an old ass guy. Same jokes. TSM shit again. Still works. I mean, the classics still work.
What I loved about this was all this shit that we were copying, because people were like, how are you underestimating TSM? It's like, well, literally everybody was like, this team has good coordination, but do they actually have the players you need on an individual basis in terms of power to win a title? Like, and this is what I said the last show we had. I said, I find it difficult to believe that either like the loser of 100 Thieves or EG or Cloud9, you're telling me neither of these teams is going to step up and be able to challenge TSM. I said it's extraordinarily unlikely that everything comes together with the individual strength of some of these rosters, and absolutely none of them step up and can take out TSM in a playoff game. That seems really far-fetched to me.
So I was gonna say the biggest opening was when TL made that like change, because they kind of weakened their own roster. I know they had other stuff, like the Santorin wasn't really their choice. Like that's an unfortunate like medical thing, I guess, or something going on there. But when that changed, that was like their opening where it was like, oh yeah, no, TSM are pretty good. Well, they're going to go to Worlds, but yeah, a little
Is
tough.
the thing,
Also,
Monte?
Cloud9 sabotaging themselves.
C9 was
Basically,
going down
if you saw the way things went for Team Liquid this year, like I got the coach fired, but we still made Worlds. Bjergsen calls me a swagger jacker. That's actually fire if you know the reference. If you know anything about the behind the scenes of LCS, that's fucking amazing reference. No, but actually I want to ask you about that topic though, in Errol, what Monty just said there. The real reason people aside from TSM fans, the real reason people weren't very high on TSM squad is because like realistically that off season was a bit off-putting, right? Like you were waiting for massive names to come in and the big names really were Huni and Swordart. Like you know, Huni's not bad by the way. I always say this, you have to actually treat Huni this year differently than past years because he now is technically NA resident. So for an NA resident, by the way, he's a very good player you could sign. Obviously, he's one of the better free agents. The problem is, like, as Monty's implying, like, where's like the all-world player on this team? You know, like even if they'd have made Worlds, dude, I think they would have had some problems, right? Do you not think the roster's a bit kind of like it's not bad, but it's not great, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was even their like number one goal going in. I think that's pretty obvious with like the double stuff that happened at the start.
Yes.
And I know they were looking for someone other than Swordart, if I remember right, weren't they? And they kind of like
there's some Vietnamese guy called Pallet or whatever, if you remember that story.
Mm-hmm. So I know something weird happened there. I may be wrong with that. I don't remember correctly, but yeah, it's always kind of weird. I know when you pick up Huni, it's kind of you know what you're getting. You kind of have to play around Huni, and you're going to build your roster on Huni and probably not complain about that.
And he's going to win some games. Let's be real. He's always been good in LCS.
Oh yeah, no, he's going to win you games for sure. But I mean, he may have changed over the years since he was on Fox, and I know that was a weird dynamic with like him and Dardoch together because that was not a mix you probably want. Can be like pretty stubborn with it, and I know having like PoE too. I don't know if it's like PoE being stubborn. I've only heard like really good things about him as a teammate, but I know like champion pool wise, like he's really really specific to just those like mages. And I think that showed through the split too, like is a pretty clear thing when they were like experimenting with Lee Sin and all that, that when the meta was kind of weird, is a little off for them. And I think it could easily go back to that at Worlds if Riot wants that to be the case. So yeah, I don't know. It was always going to be a little weird team dynamic wise, but I think also they just have struggles in like the 2v2 bottom. I think people have always kind of hit on that one. They are kind of like weak siding them in a way. They didn't in their C9 series, which I thought was actually pretty good, but yeah, it's probably be hard for them at Worlds, honestly. So I don't think it's too big of a bummer that they didn't go. But they play well as a team. I thought that was like really fucking good. They're actually pretty good team play overall, but they're probably capped. So
I mean, I think they definitely had the best team play of any of the NA teams that we saw in the playoffs. But there isn't an NA team that has both team play and like world-class players on it.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.